the previous videos, we mentioned about the literature review, which you can incorporate relevant account of all research and theory relevant to your topic, the historical development of your topic, the linkage between various research areas and identifications of the research gaps, summaries of all methods, analysis and techniques relevant to your topic, and identifications of how your research can contribute to existing knowledge. What you can see here, there are a lot of information that you can provide in the literature review, and this will involve a lot of literature as well as the research articles. You know that you only need to extract the important points, such as the findings by the researcher, the methods used by the researcher, how they conduct the analysis, and probably how you're going to make use of all these informations in your research. Having so many informations putting in together in a chapter, you will expect a very high concentrations of informations in a chapter. Nearly every sentence are filled with solid informations and heavily cited. Combining all this information is going to be challenging, not only at the level making sense of those combinations, it is also at the level how you're going to make it effective and interesting to the reader. You don't want your reader to disengage with the reading halfway through your literature review chapter. Therefore, organizing the informations, it will be quite important so that when they read through certain sections of your literature review, they're going to expect a similar nature of informations, discussing similar topics, so that the readers can easily comprehend the informations provided in the literature review. This slide here shows us some possible ways that you can organize your literature review. You can organize your literature review in the chronological orders, which means that you arrange in accordance to the date of the publications. This kind of arrangement can be used to demonstrate the development of the knowledge throughout the history, and you see the advancement of the technology, and probably based on what we observe at the current state, you can more or less gauge the latest state of the technology. Some might be able to observe the projections. How would the technology transform if they are put into the extreme limits? Then the projection part, it will be your own input and your interpretations of the future trend of the technological development. However, if you want to use this chronological order of arrangement, you have to be careful. The date of publications cannot be too precise, because normally the rate of publications among different countries or different regions may be different due to different interests as well as different problems or the conditions at different regions. Some regions or some researchers may be very productive without any delay as soon as they completed their research. Some may also in the middle of their research, they have already started pursuing for publications, while the others, the publications was done after several years of completing the research project. And then because of different interests of the different researchers, which is also governed by the availability of the respective facilities, the stages of development of a certain research study in certain field may not be consistent throughout the world. Therefore, sometimes you cannot actually gauge the exact point of breakthrough or the point of representing development of a certain research topic. Nevertheless, you can do something like this. You don't have to refine yourself exactly the date of the publications. Probably you are looking at the intervals of 5 to 10 years. Or if you would like to make it more refined, especially for the field of study which is highly popular, you have so many researchers competing within the field of the study, and you see the very significant pickup in terms of the rate of development within certain technology, then probably you can refine further your interval to 3 to 5 years. Personally, I feel that if you refine it to year by year, you might not be able to observe a good trend of the development of the technology. Because you have some good journals, the entire process from submissions of the manuscript until the date of publications, it can last more than 1 year. Anyway, this one is up to you, and depending on the situations which you feel appropriate in terms of the arrangement of your literature review. The one I mentioned just now in terms of the technological development, which is suitably presented by the chronological order, is one of the examples. Next, you can also arrange your literature review in terms of thematic. That means it is by theme. You have to organize your literature review around a certain topic or issues. Then you arrange this topic and issue so that they are linked to each other, and if possible, you try to arrange those topics and issues in some obvious sequence, where after you have catered for a specific topic, the reader will automatically expect the next topic, and just nicely you are discussing the following topic. This represents the most ideal situations where your flow of topics is in line with the expectations of the reader. Then you will keep the reader engaged throughout your literature review. If possible, you try to find a good linkage between topic to topic, or probably at the end of discussions of the first topic, you can prepare the readers to the next topic by putting some statements guiding the readers towards the directions. This thematic arrangement for the literature review is focusing more on the point being made rather than on the time or grouping and organizing different research papers that you have reviewed previously. Personally, I feel this thematic arrangement for the literature review, it will be more popular among the students, and it is easier to manage. You just need to know the big area of the topic, and you can work on the topic one by one, trying to find the logical sequence among those topics. This thematic organizing manner is also rather flexible, which you can always expand your scope of discussions into the new topic, which can later be added in any parts along different topics that you are discussing throughout the literature. You just only need to reorganize the sequence, and then with proper linkage sentences, the topics are chained together. This is also beneficial when you intend to expand your literature review, making contributions to the content of the literature review at different stages of research. As you gain better understanding of your research, your insight and your discussions might impose more value to your literature review, and those can be easily added in as the stand-alone sections within the literature review. The next ways to organize your literature review is by doing the advancement. It is basically starting with the first breakthrough of the research in the respective topic. Observe the trend of development of the research topic. When you encounter the next significant breakthrough, you will need to discuss on that. It is like an arrangement of the series of breakthrough throughout the history of the research development for that particular topic. Therefore, you are discussing the advancement of the field from the start until to the present situations. This kind of arrangement is quite identical to the chronological order. The difference is the chronological orders is quite heavily governed by the date of the publications, which we have mentioned just now. The actual dates of publications may be quite misleading, which can create some noise and inconsistency and prevent you to clearly observe the breakthrough and development of the field of study. As for the advancement methods, the dates of publications is not that emphasized, although theoretically we are expecting the newer breakthrough in the research field is normally published closest to the present date. However, this is not entirely true if you observe this in terms of the breakthrough. And then the next question it will be, how do you define the breakthrough? This one will have to govern by your comprehensions in terms of the historical development of the topic. You might need to make a database listing all the significant contributions given by respective researchers, and then put those publications together, making some parallel comparisons. And then you need to observe some findings which are first being mentioned or observed by a certain researcher, and then for the publications later, most of the other researchers having their discussions or understanding built on basis of it. In order to do this, you will have to imagine something like a spider web or something like a mind map, trying to trace the source of the ancestor who first come up with some significant idea, which are later being adopted by the following researcher. And normally the researchers who had adopted the idea provide citations referring to that particular person. Then you are able to determine the breakthrough at that particular instance. There is another problem for you to identify this breakthrough, because the way you write this advancement, there will be an order, which come first, which come later. This is another thing that you need to consider. Are you going to consider solely based on the dates of publications? Or are you going to consider those breakthroughs, which when you arrange in sequence, giving you a logical development trend of that particular research topic? This is something that you need to decide. And then there is another challenging part. You know that the advancement of a certain technology, it is not only in one single line or in one single trend, because you have so many researchers putting their interests at different scope of study, which at the end of the day, you might not be able to see an obvious straight line or an obvious trend. It is as if like the knowledge is expanding in all directions. However, you know that when you do the writing, your writing is supposed to be in the linear form, where the readers are expected to read from the first word to the last word. Therefore, when you want to guide the readers towards your thoughts, it is very much limited by the limitations in terms of the writing, which is in the linear form. Although you can write your literature review in more than one lines, but if you are talking about an expansions in all directions, it is likely to be beyond your manageable level. Having this said, you can't help because you can only observe the development of the technology, which is in all directions, and every single directions might not in the same pace. Some stop halfway and some expand further. But no matter how it is, due to the limitations of writing, which is linear, you will have to try your best to tell story and find linkage between the breakthroughs of the technologies. This is to guide the readers in the most logical sequence of the breakthrough, presenting a certain trend that can easily be monitored or imagined by the readers. Therefore, you will see that within the two sets of publications or informations available for two different researchers, although both of them are doing the advancement methods for the literature review, and both of them identify the similar set of the breakthroughs, but they might tell you different storyline. The storyline or the sequence of the breakthroughs may vary slightly. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, and this is also quite normal because you are more concerned with the current achievement of the research topic. Even though the trend might seem different among different researchers, if they are doing on basis of the same set of informations, having same interpretations in terms of the breakthroughs, at the end of the day, when they come to discussing the present situations of that particular topic, normally the lines will meet. Therefore, to me, that is still okay, because the purpose of the literature review is trying to tell a story, highlighting the significant breakthrough. Whether the trend is fully correct, it doesn't really matter. It is not because that we don't want to consider that. It is mainly because it is too complex for us to reconstruct the actual trend. There is no mechanism for us to cross-check. Therefore, you will treat that as the professional opinions by the researcher after they have gone through the rigorous analysis, which provide you some degree of credibility. At least they are more persuasive than general public, giving you some unjustified informations, and that should be sufficient for you, because at the end of the day, it will be the points, principles, theories, or significant findings or breakthroughs by the previous researcher that are helping you to find answers for your research problem. Your ultimate goal is not to reconstruct the history. So with that said, what we are presenting here is one of the methods how you can organize your literature review. And this also gives us an understanding that literature review can be very personal. Even though the same set of publications being reviewed, different people may have different interpretations. They might approach the point differently, and they start to tell the storyline, and there are going to be slight variations among the opinions given by different researchers. You might want to ask, is there anything that can be done to make this kind of opinions to be more reliable? Personally, I feel that this is not necessary. It is because of the variety in terms of the opinions given by different researchers make the entire literature reviews to be interesting. When you see different people giving different opinions, using different techniques to approach certain specific points, you learn something from them. You realize that there are alternatives more than that you can imagine of. This sometimes will trigger you some new ideas in approaching the certain topic, and this will encourage the development within the field of the study. We don't have to penalize whether their storyline is correct or wrong. Maybe due to their best capacity, they are proposing the most logical arrangement. This one is good enough. If you forbid them to do so, It will be as if you only allowed those who are very knowledgeable and extremely experienced. Probably only those professors can do the publications. And this defeats the purpose of everybody in the research community contributing the knowledge in the knowledge pool. Next, you can arrange your literature review in terms of the methodological orders. This kind of arrangement focuses on the methods of the researchers, not the content. Most likely, you're going to expect some grouping and organizing of the respective research into the methodologies which are similar, and then discuss their findings. Personally, I'm quite seldom use this because I observe that a similar set of the methodology carried out can still be used to study various aspects of a certain topic, and these variations can still be quite significant. It is probably due to my personal limitations, not knowing how to manage my literature review in this order. I might not be able to use this throughout my literature review, but when I want to discuss the method used by the researcher, trying to find some solutions for their research projects, then this methodological order will be useful to me. And this will be very dependent on your needs, which type of the methods that you would like to use to organize your literature review. Another approach for you to organize your literature review, it will be the question approach. This involves outline and discuss of the major questions related to the topic. And these questions are addressed through the review of literature in an order. This kind of arrangements is very similar to the thematic arrangement, which their concentrations are on a certain topic or a question. This one is more to the question based, while this one is more to the topic or information based. In fact, if you are asking me, probably this kind of arrangement, it will be more impactful to the reader, because the things that you would like to approach, most of them are the major questions related to the topic, which this kind of questions may also arise in the mind of the reader. Therefore, it is more connected to the reader. Of course, this is going to be a bit challenging. First, you will need to know your readers. You will need to guess how your readers going to perceive certain things, at which point the reader may going to ask certain questions. And then the most ideal situation is whenever a question arises in the reader's mind, you will provide the answer immediately. Then you always keep your readers engaged, and it is possible for them to stay interested throughout your literature review. It is like a compilation of the answers that the readers are seeking for. In fact, if you can achieve to this level, I guess you are able to do an extremely good literature review. Because the purpose of doing the literature review, it is for you to find the answer for your research. And the biggest challenge of doing the literature review, it is to keep the readers stay interested throughout your literature review, providing all the answers that they need, and the reader may need to always come back to your literature review seeking for more answers. Of course, this is a very ideal situation. It will be quite challenging to achieve that. Nevertheless, we have introduced to you various methods for you to organize your literature review. It is also to be noted that you may use different types of organizing methods at different sections of the literature review, depending the needs and the purpose of that particular section. The usage of different methods here shouldn't be too rigid, and it is not meant for you to demonstrate how many methods that you are aware of, or how many methods that you can apply throughout your literature review. Bear in mind that while doing your literature review, you are not to show off how much you know, how knowledgeable you are, and so on and so forth. You must always stay focused to the purpose of the literature review, or specifically, stay focused on the purpose of that particular section. When you want to demonstrate the development of the technology, you could consider to use the chronological or advancement manner, because these two methods help you to illustrate the trend for the readers to visualize. Then, if you are dealing with the methodology used by different researchers, which require in-depth discussions, then you may go for the methodological orders. And when you are addressing certain topics or issues that of interest of the reader, then you can go for the thematic or question approach. It is possible for you to have your literature review in combinations of more than one approach of organizations. You just need to choose the one best helping you to achieve your purpose of that particular section.